Okay. Disappointed!
Alright, so let's get into it. So as per normal, we'll start from the worst cards in the box and go to the best cards. So the trashiest stuff at the bottom, all the way to the top. And without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so first card on the agenda we have Trickstar Magical Laurel. Activate this card by targeting one Trickstar monster in your graveyard. Special summon it and equip it with this card. When this card leaves the field, destroy that monster. Once per turn, if the equipped monster inflicts battle damage or fate damage to your opponent, you can special summon one Trickstar monster in your hand. You can activate one Trickstar Magical Laurel per turn. Now this is bad. It's only usable if you've already got something in the graveyard. So I guess it's usable if you're actually able to use your monsters to, well, link off. We don't have links, so. I guess, as for now, there's no new XC, so I don't know what you're going to do with the Trickstar monsters. They have to actually be destroyed for this to be usable. Yeah, so I don't think I'm going to use this. See, it's not one of those cards that you use when you're either already losing, so you already have Trickstar monsters in the grave, or after you've managed to do an XC summon or something, so maybe later on, but as for now, I don't think we're going to use this card. Alright, Trickstar Bouquet. Target one Trickstar monster you control and one face-up monster on the field. Return that Trickstar monster to the hand, and if you do, the other monster gains attack equal to the original attack of the returned monster until the end of this turn. Okay, I mean it's a usable effect. It's a quick play, so you can use it during battle phase. And also put your Trickstar monsters back in hand, and a lot of them have activatable effects when they're summoned, so I'm not sure what Trickstars we're getting, but if we're getting some good ones that activate from hand, then have effects when they're normal summoned or special summoned, then this would be pretty useful. Obviously, it's not as powerful as something like nowadays it's something like a Karma card or a Blister Squad or something like that, I don't think. It's still a very good effect though. It's not a bad effect. Also, we have to have Trickstar monsters with decent stat lines, like the 2000 attack hand trap one or something. Otherwise, this is not going to be used at all, clearly. Pegasus Wing. If you have a Union monster in your graveyard, target any number of Valkyrie monsters you control, those monsters can attack directly this turn. Oh. But if they do using this effect, the battle damage oh, it's halved. Ruined. Okay, so I don't have any idea what Valkyries like, so I don't know what. They apparently use Union monsters. I've never followed them in TCG, so I have no idea what they're like. I mean, could be a useful card. Obviously, it doesn't help with like setting up your combo or anything though, so unless the Valkyrie deck is already extremely consistent, you wouldn't use this card because you would prefer to try and set up your board in the first place rather than have this card that's kind of like, hey, now I win the game kind of thing. This is like kind of a winning the game kind of card, right? But I don't think we're going to be using it. Especially considering the battle damage is halved, I don't know. It's probably, I assume people are going to focus more on making sure their decks are consistent first than trying to run OTK-ish style things like this. Alright, next up, we have Neck Hunter. Wow, a fiend that wields a mean sickle and fires devastating beams from its eyes. Not sure about this one. I feel like decent stat line, you know? Got a decent defense, alright? Fairly solid. For some reason he's got like a little hook sticking out of his heel, so he'll be walking around like he's on high heels the whole time. Eyes, but only has one eye. Oh my god, Brad, you've actually just ruined some poor dev's day. You know how long someone must have spent drawing this card art? You just dumped it all over his hard work. Disappointed in you, Brad. I thought you had a good standing with Konami. They're gonna hate you after this. Job Change Mirror. A wicked mirror that blocks off the damaging effects of an attack. You know, for some reason, I highly... This is going to be one of those cards, right? Where if a new player comes to the game and they see this card, they're going to read this card text and be like, holy shit, this thing blocks off the damage effects of an attack. They're going to play this card, they're going to take a bunch of damage, it's going to be like, what? Why? The card text says... Yeah, good one, Konami. Great one. I'm sure no new player will get fooled by reading this card. The All-Seeing White Tiger. A proud ruler of the jungle that some fear and others respect. It's actually not real. I don't think we have that many Beast Wind monsters though, actually. Not that this card's ever going to be usable, but I don't think we actually have very many Beast Wind monsters, so maybe it feels a niche. for some deck in the future, who knows. Oh my god, Great Bill. Nothing escapes from this beast's massive mouth. Oh, massive mouth. Oh. Oh, show me what you can do with that, Mr. Great Bill. Oh. Beaked Snake. Oh my god, this gets even better. This monster wraps itself around an opponent and pecks away with its huge beak. Oh shit. Why have to give us a front view of this card? They're telling us it's got a huge beak, but they're not even going to let us see the size of the beak. They give us the fucking front view? Come on. Art team and lore team, come on, get it together. Look at his eyes turn through the Urkel face. I mean, what, this dude? I guess. I can see a bit of Belle Delphine in there. I can see that. Valkyries something. Valkyrie monsters you control gain 200 attack for each of your opponent's banished monsters. If you control a Valkyrie monster other than Valkyries, okay, you can send a spell trap from deck to the graveyard. Yes, the effect seems really weak, but it just really depends on how this little sending to the graveyard effect is usable or not. We have to go through the cards to see if it's actually usable. If it's like Evil Eye, this could be a staple. If they need to send something to the graveyard to search, they'll run a billion of this. If they don't, then you won't use this card at all, be dead. This one I won't be able to really review now. I have to wait till we go through the other cards to see if the effect is actually usable. Also, it's just one spell or trap, so it can be a spell and trap that isn't particularly like a Valkyrie card, so I don't even know what that like implies. You can combo this with Neos Fusion to send a Neos Fusion to the grave to protect your Neos. Alright, Valkyries Chariot. Once per turn, you can either target one fairy monster you control, equip this card to that target, or unequip this card and special summon it. If the equipped monster will be destroyed by battle or card effect, destroy this card instead. Okay. When the equipped monster declares an attack, you have it gain 500 attack. That's it? That's very, very useless. That is a weak ass effect. This is a pretty dead card, unless for some reason you need this card for its name or something. This is a very dead card. A 500 attack buff and that's it? And a non-destruction-y thing? Yeah, dead as hell. Fortune Chariot. This is always treated as a Valkyrie card. Once per turn, you can either target one fairy monster you control, equip this card to that target, or unequip this card to summon it. If the hit monster will be destroyed by battle or card effect, destroy this card instead. The hit monster can attack directly, but when it does, so using this effect, the battle damage is halved. Okay, so this is another way to make Valkyries attack directly. I mean, if this is summonable straight from the deck, then it'll be sick, because you'll just summon it straight from the deck, equip it to your monster, and then attack directly. And you can run it as like a one-off just for like finishing or whatever. But if it's not summonable by like straight from the deck or anything, it just seems like a really dead card, especially considering its level is super high, so it's just unusable as anything but a one-off probably, I imagine. And again, it's one of those cards that's just like this one where, unless you really want to attack directly because you've got like a really consistent combo already, you just wouldn't use it anyway. You prefer to have cards that help towards your main combo of the deck. First, Trickstar monster. Trickstar Narcissus. If your opponent takes effect damage during the damage step, you can special summon except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can use the effect of Trickstar Narcissus once per turn. Each time your opponent takes a monster effect in their hand or graveyard, inflict 200 damage immediately after it resolves. Yeah, not exactly the most useful effect. I guess when your opponent activates something in response, you can special summon this. Because like all your Trickstar monsters generally do like 200 damage to your opponent whenever they do something. So you can just special summon this straight from hand, but it's going to be really hard to do this during your turn unless they activate something in response to you summoning something or whatever. Could be a good Xyz card or something later on, but I don't think it's going to be all that great currently. Like, it is really easy to special summon this card. Doing effect damage with Trickstar is very easy. Well, without links, it's going to be really weird. It's probably going to be more of an Xyz attempt later on than a main deck right now. So I think Trickstar even have like a boss monster. They have like a hand trapped in the archetype. They don't even have like a boss or anything, so I'm not sure what you're actually going to do with these cards unless they've got something to link into. I don't know. It seems like a really awkward archetype to add. Probably not going to be very good. Yeah, rank 4 support's about it. So maybe when Xyz comes out, this will see play, maybe. But yeah, on release, this is going to be a dead card, I think. Avatar of the Pot. God damn, this man is jacked. Oof. What the hell? He's got a pot of greed for a head. He's fucking jacked. That is a manly ass. Not gonna lie though, pretty weak bulge. He's looking a bit. This is definitely a steroid user. By sending one pot of greed from your hand to the graveyard, draw 3 cards. A pot of greed, huh? A pot of greed. Are they just gonna keep doing this every box now? They're just gonna add 1 or 2 cards that are only usable with one specific skill in the game? Fuck off. Stop this. Stop these memes now. Stop it. Stop trying to bait out reactions from gullible YouTubers. Next up, we got Spirit of the Pot of Greed. Oh my god, why does card face up on the... No, we don't have Pot of Greed, it's only from a skill, stop. I didn't even know they made like an archetype for Pot of Greed or support for the card. Alright, so obviously that shit's not usable, we don't have Pot of Greed in the game. Maybe it's an ultra rare in this box. Maybe. Stay tuned to find out. Alright, what Giraffe? This card can attack your opponent directly. If this card inflicts bound damage to your opponent by a direct attack, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of this turn. So, Watts already have a monster that can attack directly, right? Watts are a meme deck currently, but they do have like a little OTK they can do. So I'm not sure this particularly helps the deck considering they already have that little niche field. Also, Watts obviously are not a very good deck, so unless there's like some really pog or Watt card in here, this ain't gonna do shit. This is not what the deck needs to help it. Alright, on to the rares. Lodge's Flame. While you control a Valkyrie monster, your opponent with... While you control a Valkyrie monster, monsters your opponent control with 2000 attack cannot attack. If this card is in your possession destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can spend a summon 1 level 5 or higher Valkyrie monster from your hand or deck. Okay, so that's a pretty dead card. When are you ever going to attack with something with 2000 or less attack anyway? Like, when? This isn't 2017 Duel Links, we're not running Dinos and Harpies and Axe Raiders, so I'm not really sure why you're ever going to use this. Never wins it back, baby. Because like, if you've got a monster below 2000 attack, it's probably not going to be able to swing anyway. But useless ass card idea. I guess Weather Painters kind of, because they have to swing in to make their trap card work, so I guess Weather Painter counter. Yeah, now this seems like a really dead card. I don't think we're using this. Apple of Enlightenment. Target cards in your opponent's graveyard up to the number of Valkyrie monsters you control. Banish them. Okay, this is anti-graveyard. Could be useful for current meta. If the set card in its own control has left the field because of an opponent's card effect and is now in the graveyard or banished, you can draw cards equal to the number of Valkyrie monsters you control plus 1. If this is a searchable card, I guess you'll use it because you just search the one off in the matchup, so you want to banish stuff from the graveyard. If it's not searchable, it's probably not usable because you just prefer to run cards that are generic and work against all decks rather than one that's like specifically targeted at graveyard decks. Because not every deck's a graveyard deck. Valkyrie's Embrace. If all monsters you control are Valkyrie monsters, target one attack position Valkyrie monster you control and one face-up monster your opponent controls. Change your monster to defense position. If you do, banish that opponent's monster. You can special summon monsters to activate this effect. You can special summon monsters? Okay. Oh, except Valkyrie monsters. Okay. So it is target removal, which makes it a bit worse, but it is just an instant banish, so... not terrible. Does also require your monster to be face up and in attack position, so Canadias and Floodgates ruin it, make it a useless card. Not terrible, it's just a removal spell. Just remove something. It's also not quick play, so if you get this going first, it's a dead card, completely dead. I guess like an easy way to like compare this card is similar to like the Psychic removal card, which is like the pay 1000 banish something, which literally never got played because it wasn't a quick play mostly. So I don't have a huge amount of hope for this card. So I think something like this isn't going to get played purely because it's not quick play. Going first, it literally just doesn't do anything. Final Light. Pay life points in multiples of 1000. I don't like the sound of that. I'm not gonna lie, I really don't like the sound of that. Please. Then target monsters in your graveyard with a different name for every 1000 life points paid, special summon them. Then you can special summon monsters... Then your opponent can special summon monsters with 2000 with attack from their graveyard up to the number of monsters you special summon this effect. So turn 1, you play Light Sworn, you mill your entire deck, you activate Final Light, pay 3,000, bring back three Valkyrie monsters, access denied pass. That's an ideal scenario, to be fair, but I really don't like the sound of that, to be fair. Instant skill activation. It does make your opponent special summon monsters from the graveyard, but if you're running a Light Sworn deck, your opponent's running a normal deck, obviously you're going to get way more value from something like this. Like, way more value. Silent Showdown, instant win, yeah, that kind of shit too. If they're all attacking directly, my god. Alright, so this card is I don't like the look of it. It seems like it could be really irritating. This shows like a good argument for a Light Sworn variant, like a really good argument. Seems like a good card. Karakuri Gamma Oil. Activate this card by targeting one Karakuri monster in your graveyard, special summon it and equip it with this card. Once per turn, if the battle position or face-up Karakuri monster you control is changed, the creature monster gains 5 attack and defense. You only activate one. Oh, is that it? Just a special summon of Karakuri. Alright, so to be fair, a lot easier to use a card like this than it would be the Trickstars because they're a synchro deck, so they will either get a synchro summon off their monsters turn 1. You can then use this to bring back the Karakuri that you synchroed off. Will you use this? I don't think so. I don't think we care about bringing back one Karakuri monster with a spell. That seems really awkward. You prefer just to have a way to synchro summon in the first place rather than this like extender kind of a card. I don't see us using this. It just seems bad. Even though its effect also just seems fairly weak compared to like, it's just like a Power of the Guardians effect without the destruction protection, so it's kind of like, alright, sure. Alright, let's move on. I don't like this card. Next up, we have X Ally Triforce. Holy shit, Legend of Zelda card right here. This card's effects depend on the attribute of its non-China synchro material monsters. Okay. If this card attacks your opponent, it cannot activate a spell and trap card until the end of the damage step. Okay. Little Ancient Gear style effect. If this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of that monster. Use this effect. Once per turn, you can select one light monster in the graveyard, a special summon and face down defense positions. Can't even use it for a synchro summon. Yeah, that seems pretty average. Pretty low attack stat. Really weak ass effects that requires you to have like multiple for it to be effective, like multiple materials outside of the normal 2. I guess to be fair, if there's like a synchro deck that comes out that uses Gen X tuner, you'll probably run this card purely because you can make an Armades with it. It's like a stronger Armades in terms of stats. But even then, it doesn't work on monsters, so that makes it a lot weaker as well. Alright, next up we have Valkyrie Verite. During your main phase, you can activate the top cards of your deck against a number of Valkyrie monsters you control, and if you do, add one activated normal spell trap card to your hand. Also send the remaining cards to the graveyard. Sylvans, wow, is this Sylvan support? Could it be? First thing I noticed with this card is that it's number of other Valkyrie monsters, so this card by itself won't be a mill. So you're literally going to have another Valkyrie monster on the board for this to be useful, and it will only mill one card. So max is a mill 2. Otherwise, shuffle the cards into the deck. When this card is destroyed battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one Valkyrie monster from your deck. Okay, so this could be a card that we use to just set during your first turn, or special summon during your first turn, and let your opponent kill it, special summon a Valkyrie from deck. That could be its main use. Because it's like, the excavate effect is probably literally just not playable, it just doesn't seem very useful. Not sure, I'll give it a solid, could be usable. If special summonable from the deck or something, it'll be Pog, otherwise, I don't know, not super exciting. Valkyrie Drite. If this card's normal special summon, you can add one Valkyrie card from your deck to your hand, except Valkyrie Drittle. You can use fades for once per turn. Alright, so this is a search card. On normal or special summon, it's a search. Generally, something that can just add any card from an archetype to hand is just a 3 of in any deck, so this could be, I assume this will be really sick for the deck. I assume. It seems like it's just a search. Sadly, it is a hard once per turn though. Someone can attack and pass. It just really depends on like the what other spell and trap cards you've got too. Because if you just add like a specific card to hand that special summons itself, or can be special summoned with a spell that you can also search for with this, then this card just be a 3-0 because you use it to search for that particular combo piece. It also depends on how consistent the deck is, because if the deck is like extremely consistent already and you don't need a search, then you don't run the card. But generally search cards are used, so I guess it depends on what the rest of the archetypes like. Like if there's no other special summoning like effects in the game in the deck, then you wouldn't use this card because this is something that's going to take up your normal summon. It's just, or generally take up your normal summon. It can be used on special summon as well. Valkyrie Chariot. If this card is summoned, you can target one monster your opponent controls, destroy it. After damage calculation, if this card battled, you can target one continuous spell in your graveyard, add it to your hand. So this card is summoned, so that includes special or normal. You can target one monster your opponent controls, destroy it. This little pony here, if this little pony is destroyed, and instead of summon this straight from the deck, just target a card your opponent controls, pop it. So hopefully there's some other ways to special summon, because that would make this a pretty usable card. You can just summon it straight from the deck, or whatever, summon it from hand, pop something. Could be usable. Either way, seems like a pretty good card, just kind of depends on again, it's very similar stuff to like this card. How good is this deck as special summoning stuff from the deck or from hand? Is there like there's got to be some special summoning cards in here somewhere that make these like super usable, I imagine. Valkyrie Chariot. You can only control one Valkyrie Chariot. While you control this card, special summon by the effect of a Valkyrie card, all face-up monsters your opponent controls lose 1,000 attack. Any card destroyed by battle or card effect that will be sent to the graveyard is banished instead. Alright, so important to note, it's when it destroys it first, so it's not like this card swings in and it banishes your opponent's monsters, it has to actually destroy it first. So it's like the Shiranui boss monster would still protect from like destruction effects. It's not like it'll just get banished. The minus 1,000 attack buff is pretty significant though. 1,000 attack minus in all your opponent's monsters is quite a lot. You know, this is just like instantly special summoned for some reason. That's pretty sick. Yeah, so I'm liking to look at these cards. It literally just depends on how the rest of the like archetype plays out in terms of how these cards are being special summoned. Because all these effects are super usable. It just depends on if they're really easy to summon out or not, basically. Alright, second Trickstar monster, we have Lilibel. Now, I have used this card in TCG, so I know this card. If this card's added to your hand except by drawing it, you can special summon it from your hand. You can use effect of Trickstar Lilibel once per turn. This card can attack your opponent directly. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can add one Trickstar monster in your graveyard to your hand. If this box has the rest of the Trickstars, this is a useful card, because you just add it to hand with the 2 Trickstar searches that are in Yu-Gi-Oh! If they're not in this box, this card's pretty dead, because you can't really add it to hand except by... Yeah, I don't know how do you even add this to hand if you don't have the other 2 Trickstar monsters. This is the last Trickstar? Oh, well then, it's a dead card. This card by itself, garbage. This card, comboed with the other Trickstar monsters, insane. So we don't have the other Trickstar monsters, useless. Shame really, because it's like a really cool little combos you can do with this. Again, generally with linking though. Also without a main phase 2, it makes its secondary effect kind of irrelevant. What Cobra? This card can attack your opponent directly. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, add one what monster from deck to hand. So another monster can attack directly. So its effect isn't that useful considering it has to actually go through first and then it can search. And it's only searching for a monster, so it can't search for like a quick play spell or something to do finishing damage or something. So again, not just like the other what monster, not something that's going to make the archetype playable. We're still waiting on something that makes the what's playable. This isn't it. Not a terrible card, but not something to be like, holy shit, what's are coming in, boys. They're coming in hot. What Pheasant? If this card can attack your opponent directly, and can all the what's attack directly? I didn't think they could, but all these what's have attacked directly so far. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent by direct attack, select one face-up monster on the field and remove it from play until the end of phase of this turn. Okay, so you can use this to swing directly and then make one of your opponent's monsters disappear. Not a bad effect. It allows something else to swing. It can technically be usable in decks that aren't what too. Not a terrible effect, but it's nothing to make what's be actually a usable deck though. Nothing there. There's nothing there, boys. Alright, next. Okay, now we've got a sick card. We've got Karma card. Discard one card, then target one face-up monster your opponent controls, banish that target. Then banish all other cards to that name from your opponent's graveyard. Oh my god. Yeah, obviously we already have this in Duel Links, so you guys know already. We're just finally getting it outside of the pay-to-win selection boxes. Finally, it's obtainable by everyone. It's not locked behind a paywall anymore. Feels good, man. I can finally get a couple of copies of it, because I'm pretty sure I don't have a single copy of this yet. Alright, let's move on. Karakuri Cash-In. Target one carry monster you control and one effect monster your opponent controls. Change the battle position of your monster, and if you do, negate the effects of the opponent's monster until the end phase. If you control a Karakuri monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard and target one face that monster on the field. Change that monster's battle position. Okay, so this is a negate for Karakuri. Do Karakuri have a search for a spell and trap? Do they have one? Level 2 monster? If during their combo they can have a search for a spell and trap card, that makes this infinitely better because it just becomes a negate that you can search for, and a monster negate is sick. But if it doesn't, it becomes up being like the Gladiator Beast card, because the Gladiator Beast have a negate too. They have War Chariot? Yeah, they have a negate as well. It's just it doesn't really get used, or like it does get used, but obviously the deck's still garbage. It took like these cards to come to the game for it to be more usable, and even then, deck's still pretty bad. So like if this just happens to be searched by during their combo, then they can make a sick board state, have a negate set. You know, useful effect. But if it's not searchable, it won't make the deck like OP or anything. And it's not like the Blackwing trap where you can activate it straight from hand like a hand trap. Obviously it's only good going first though, going second it's just a dead card, so that's also something to note. Okay, so this is actually something that's used in Karakuri currently, like commonly. This could be run as at least a one-of, because this if you do run Merchant, and like you can combo off without having to use Merchant Search for another card, you can just search for this and have a better setup turn on. Scrapyard. Add one Scrap Tuner monster in your deck to your hand. Oh, sure. That's just a search for... What Scrap Tuners do we have? Well, I guess this is straight off in your Scrap decks, I guess. Search for any particular tuner monster you like. Very, very good card. Just really depends on... Is it something that's going to make Scraps viable, though? Probably not. I don't think. So they generally need good cards to go with their searches. But it certainly helps, especially because there's a lot of tuners, actually. Like, I've already scrolled past 4 different tuners. That's 4 different targets this card can search for. It's not even like a downside for it. It's just... This just makes your deck 3 cards smaller, basically. You just use this to search for any of the tuners you like. Note how it is not a once per turn. Use multiple copies. Oh, that's pretty sick too, actually. You're right. It's not even a once per turn. So you have 2 of these in hand, that's 2 searches. Not sure if you need two searches of 2 tuner monsters, but a lot of the scraps just like to self-destruct anyway, so maybe you do like to do that. Alright, let's move on though, because this is obviously not much else to talk about this card, just a 6 searcher. Alright, combination attack. During a battle phase, you can use this effect on one monster that has attacked this turn and is equipped with a union monster. Change the union monster back to a monster in face-up attack position or defense position. Okay, also that monster that was equipped with Union may attack again this turn. So I haven't actually seen any of the Valkyrie stuff be good with Union stuff yet. I'm just trying to wonder if there's any other dumb OTKs you can make with this. Because it's obviously just an OTK card generally. I guess it can be used to swing to destroy 2 monsters as well. Not a bad card, especially considering it's a quick play. It just really depends on if there's actually a deck that can really utilize Union monsters. Oh, I mean, if a Union deck ever comes and becomes super sick, then I assume this would be a sick card, and it just allows your monster to attack twice, can enable some really awesome OTKs or whatever. It is obviously like a win more card though, as it's literally only used to, it doesn't benefit your combo at all, it's literally only used to beat over opponent's monsters, help clear your opponent's board, deal extra damage, that kind of stuff. It doesn't help with your main initial combo or your main initial setup, so it certainly is like a win more card. Alright, next up, we got Exploder Dragonwing. 1 tuner, 1 or more non-tuner dragon type monsters, so fairly generic. Start damage step, if this card battles a monster, you can destroy that monster, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of the destroyed monster. This card's attack must be greater than or equal to the attack of that monster to resolve its effect. Oh. Well, it was looking good until you read the last part, the card text, and it was like, oh. So this card is already equal to, or has more attack, it can destroy stuff. if it's exactly the same, if it has any lower, I mean, then it's just useless. So it's basically just useless, right? I mean, if you can buff it, then it would be slightly better, obviously. I think that's not really something we care about too much. Next up, we got Valkyrie Chariot. If this card is special summoned, you can special summon one Valkyrie monster from your deck. That's what I'm looking for. During your main phase, you can send the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck to the graveyard. Okay, there's a good card. So here's a really sick card, boys. We've got a card that, if it's special summoned, you just summon any of your Valkyries from deck. All these cards here are now all usable at just a one-of, and you can use their effects easily. I'm not sure about the sending the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck to the graveyard part though. We don't really want to mill our opponents in today's meta, so they can keep their cards in their deck, I think. Alright, let's move on to the next one. This one's like really good. We just have if we have like a consistent way to special summon this, the deck will be very playable. Okay, Valkyrie Chariot. If this card is in your hand, you can target one face-up spell and trap card your opponent controls. Oh wait, you can target one face-up spell and trap card you control. Send it to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon this card. If this card is normal or special summon, you can special summon one level 8 or lower Valkyrie monster from your hand or graveyard. Okay. So you have a face-up spell and trap card you control. So if you have a field spell, you'll use your field spell skill. You target one face-up spell trap card you control, send it to the graveyard, so send your field spell to the graveyard, special summon this card, and then you can just special summon any of your Valkyries from your hand. Super combos well with this card, combos with any of these effects. Another card that will probably be like a 3-of in the deck, and it's super useful in Duel Links because you can literally just run the field spell if you like it, a field spell skill, and this card just has a target. Also Valhalla, also true. Yeah, because Valhalla can just be used to special summon both of these cards. Actually, can Valhalla special summon? Yeah, Valhalla can special summon like any of these. Actually, that's sick. Including this card, right? I guess this is a Valhalla deck. True. Alright, here's a card that people thought would be released an eternity ago. Triamid Sphinx. So finally Triamid got their boss monster. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned with the effect of a Triamid card and cannot be special summoned by other ways. So Triamid, obviously, if you guys haven't been around Duel Links for a little bit, used to be a meta deck. Currently, isn't even that bad of a deck. It's still a pretty decent deck. Can search really, really easily. So if you want this card in hand, you can just search for it. Yeah, this is their main boss. If a face-up Triamid card you control except Triamid Sphinx is destroy a battle or card effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. So you can even just have this in your hand if your opponent kills a Triamid card to special summon it. When you control another Triamid card, this card gains 500 attack and defense for each field spell card with a different name in your graveyard. Generally, your graveyard will be stacked to shit with field spells. But then again, field spells are also like your resource, so it's kind of weird because there will be plenty of times where you just run out of field spells in your graveyard. Also, monsters your opponent control cannot attack except to attack Sphinx, so it protects the other Triamids. I mean, this is obviously you're going to run this in Triamid. It's just searchable in Triamid, and it's a really, really good boss for the deck. Especially considering that the field spell already does give a buff to this monster. And you have this monster on the board swing in with all the benefits of the field spells, like the one that allows you to swing in without them activating stuff in response. You have the one that stops them being destroyed by card effects. You have the field spell that just buffs their attack in general, or buffs their defense in general. Like, this card will just be sick. There will be a good chance, I'm not going to say it's a high chance, but there's a good chance that Triamid has a bit of potential in this, from just this card alone. This will make the deck a lot better. Like, a lot better. It's like I just mentioned, all the fields, like this card's like effect may not seem all that strong by itself, but it's the fact that all the Triamid spells, the field spells and whatever, will give all this card all the buffs as well, because it is a Triamid card, so it will get the 3 things I mentioned, those 3 different effects added to it. And it will just be like a 4k monster generally easily. Nova Summoner. When this card is destroyed battle into the graveyard, you can summon one light fairy monster with 1,500 less attack from your deck. If Sanctuary of the Sky is on the field, you can special summon one Air Knight Parshath instead. So sadly this is a destroy a battle effect, so it's probably not going to be usable. We don't really care about destroy a battle too much. It's when they can be destroyed by card effects as well that they become usable. But what is Air Knight Parshath? Oh, is it just any of these? Or is it like specifically this one? Either way, it's like a card that I don't think will make Parshath decks usable. And I don't think you're going to use this in like this kind of a deck. Like, we already have a card that does this kind of effect. Alright, next up we have Arcana Force EX the Dark Ruler. 4,000 attack, 4,000 defense. We've got another boss monster, boys. Let's go. Can't be normal summon a set. Must summon from hand by sending 3 monsters you control to the graveyard and can also summon by other ways. Okay. So not even a not a tribute summoning effect, it's similar to the other Arcana Force. With this card, special summon, toss a coin and gain the appropriate effects. Heads, this card can make a second attack during each battle phase, but if it does so using this effect, change its defense position at the end of the battle phase. Its battle position cannot be changed at the end of your next turn. Okay. If this card is destroyed, destroy a card on the field. Oh, you can summon this, but have its secondary effect active. Just have it as like a mad protection card. Like, if your opponent ever just dares destroy it, they lose everything. To be fair, it does destroy all your cards too, though. So, is this better than the other Arcana Force? That's the question. I think the answer is no. I think I like the other Arcana Force better. It's got a cool little nuke effect though. Also, it's a good 4,000 attack swing twice is pretty sick too. Like, if your opponent only has one monster on the board, they just die. Would you run this over Plasma? Probably not. So that's probably like the downside there, is just like you just run Plasma over this. Cool little boss monster though that I'm sure I'll probably make a video out of at some point. Just purely you can just use it as an OTK card. So, why not? Alright, so the on to Trishula, the card that baited us all. The card where you saw the card art in the box and you thought, holy shit, are they actually giving us the synchro? No, they're not. Trishula, the Dragon of Icy Imprisonment. 3 monsters with different names. Now that's an easy that's an easy fusion monster to summon. Must first either be fusion summoned using only monsters in your hand and or field, or special summon from your extra deck by banishing the above cards you control. Is this card just being a card that's usable in any deck? Is that the case? It's kind of cool. If this card was special summoned by using only monsters that were originally dragons, you can reveal and banish 3 cards, one from a deck, one from your deck, one from the top of your opponent's deck, and one from their extra deck. Okay, so its actual effect isn't all that great. I guess this is technically a removal though, because you just run it with a Shiranui card, right? You can use this in literally any deck as just a 2,700 attack and beat stick. If you've got nothing else to put in your extra deck, you can just stuff this in there, and it's just usable. To be fair, you have to have 3 monsters on the board to use its secondary summon, like it's banishing cards you control. Otherwise, you do need a poly, right? And I'm trying to see like if this card's actually usable or not, because like its main effect really requires, like its summoning requirement is you either have a deck that can easily get 3 monsters on the board with different names, or you just have to use like a poly and just summon it from hand. And even then that's pretty lame. I just think it's kind of cool that you could use this in just any deck you like, really. Obviously, you won't get the effect if you're using it in any deck you like, but it's kind of cool that if there's nothing else you can summon, you can just run this anyway. Is there any dragon deck that particularly use this? Like, you can use this in with a pretty easily in like a Blue Eyes kind of a deck, I guess. Especially considering like the main like poly search we have in the game is a dragon, the Keeper. So Keeper is already a card to use with this. I don't know, very hard to rate this card. It's a cool card, cool effect, and like certainly if it does make it into a deck list, you can just run it with the, you know, just run it with this thingy, and it doesn't just become a useless card then, it becomes a removal source. You can remove a card from their extra deck, you can banish a card from your deck, so you just remove that, pop something. Alright, who knows. I think we'll just move on from this card. It's too hard to kind of like think about. It's hurting my brain. My brain's too small. So let's move on from this one. Seems kind of fun though. I'll probably find some way to play it at some point. Alright, Valkyrie Brunhilde? Unaffected by your opponent's spell cards. Okay, so just more of an econ. Econ's the little popular one, right? Okay. Guess we'll Legacy Clash too. Gains 5 attack for each monster your opponent controls. When a opponent's monster declares an attack, you can halve this card's... Wait, you can have this card with exactly 1000 defense, and if you do, your other Valkyrie monster cannot be destroyed by battle this turn. Wait, was that? Did it actually say other? Your Oh no, it didn't say other, I'm just dumb. And if you do, your Valkyrie monster cannot be destroyed by battle this turn. So you can use this to protect your Valkyrie monsters. And you'll probably run it just because it's searchable with this card anyway, but it seems really like... It's not what I expected the Ultra to be. I don't know about this one. Because we don't have a lot of spell trap back row, so the unaffected by your opponent's spell effects just isn't that useful. We've got like... Econ. World Legacy Clash, that's about it. Circle, I guess? It does help with Dark Magician matchup, I guess. Would help out a lot in the Dark Magician matchup, to be fair, considering it would just become a pretty stacked monster when they summon all their Dark Magicians as well. I guess if they have 3 monsters on board, this becomes pretty fucking... I don't know, sounds like an interesting card. It's something that you obviously run, just because you can run all the Valkyrie cards you like, because they're all searchable. Karakuri, Bonze, MDL, 9763, Kanu Mazan. Okay, that was a mouthful. This card must attack if able. If this card is targeted for an attack, change the battle position of this card. If this card is in your hand, you can target one character monster you control, change its battle position, and if you do, special summon this card as a tuner. Also, you can special summon from the S deck for the rest of this turn, except Earth Machine monsters. Damn, that's a pretty cool effect. Okay, so this makes it really easy to summon your big Karakuris and you just do it whenever. Does this support actually help it too much? A little negate they can search for, and something that makes it really easy to synchro summon. It certainly helps, but I'm not sure if it actually makes it relevant. The deck will get a little bit stronger though. I'm doubtful that it will make Karakuri like meta relevant, but it certainly will help the deck a bit. Alright, so we've reached the end of our box now. We've gone through all the cards. So I guess final thoughts on the box. So what am I most excited for and what do I think is most likely to be relevant? I think personally most likely to be relevant, honestly, is just Triamid from the one Sphinx. Just because I think Triamid are not that bad of a deck and Sphinx should help it quite a lot. Should be like a huge power boost for Triamid. If anything, Triamid will just become like a really solid rogue tier more than it already is if it doesn't become tiered. Because it's like, it's still pretty hard to become a tiered deck, honestly. Especially considering like this thing has to compete with, like if you say like super heavy samurai, that deck's already pretty sick and that deck isn't tiered. So like it has to be better than like super heavy samurai in terms of like its power level. You know? It has to be better than Cyber Dragon. I think Cyber Dragon not even tiered anymore. So like, is it better than those decks? Not really sure, but yeah, it should be. This should help the deck quite a bit. What I'm most excited for. Second best archetype in the box, well, obviously has to be Valkyrie, because there's like nothing really else in here, I don't think. Valkyrie's gonna be super. Honestly, I have no idea how good Valkyrie's gonna be. It's gonna be super weird. Final Light sounds like such an interesting card. Like if you just run some random Light Sworn variant and just have like Final Light, just special summon all these different things on your first turn, then access denied, bandit. Yeah, all those things we've been using with Star Blast, you can now use as Final Light. Sounds really entertaining. That's just like one variant deck though. Like it's probably more likely going to go more of a more standard list, I'd imagine. Interesting to try it though. It sounds like a good deck. I don't have super high hopes for it being tiered though. I don't think it sounds that good. It sounds like it does sound like a decent deck though. It does have a good chance, I guess. Certainly something to watch out for. And other than that, that's about it from the box though, because the Watts are all kind of useless. These 2 random Trickstar cards that aren't going to do anything without the rest of the support, and a random boss monster you can use.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob? Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis. Oh.